Hey, everybody, welcome to our weekly podcast. We're going to get this technical difficulty stuff down. There's so much to figure out, but anyway, I'm glad you guys joined us. I'm super excited today too, Terry. We have I always get excited when we have a California realtor. It really makes for a great show. So today we have with us Danielle Davenport, and of course we have the man, the legend, Terry Gilliam. Hello, both of you.
Hello.
Hello, David, and excited to have Danielle on here. Very successful realtor in the Bay Area, and excited to have her on here to tell us about what's going on in the Bay Area with real estate.
Well, when we get to get started today, I thought it would be a good idea, Danielle. You have a lot of years experience as a realtor, so if you could give some background and give some, kind of where you came from and what you're up to now, and then we'll get into the nuts and bolts of what it's like in California.
Yeah, definitely. So I actually have 37 years experience. I tell people I started when I was 5. And so that's a bad joke. So I have been doing real estate on and off for pretty much most of my life. I got my license right out of college. I knew I wanted to invest, and it was something I was very passionate about. So I actually moved off and did other careers. I was a director in high tech and an executive, and then I came back into real estate and been doing this full time for about 10 years. I have a team of 6. We focus on everything from residential, land, and commercial. So I love working with people that have portfolios of investments. And then I also have team members that focus specifically on residential. And I love working with actually new home buyers and people that are just really excited about their transition in life. So that's what really brought me to leaving California, because I think there's so much energy and enthusiasm, but a lot of fear that goes into leaving your home state or somewhere you've lived for a while. So really excited to have a chat to talk to you all.
Well, thanks for joining us. And again, I love working with California realtors. And I can already feel your passion. I know you're passionate about helping clients and whether they're coming or going. And, sometimes we don't really spend a lot of time talking about it, but there are a lot of people that are coming to California too. There's a lot of people that are leaving. So since this is a leaving California segment, we're going to focus more on the ones that are leaving. And we hear all this hype and stuff about California, and the media just blows it up across the country. Can you share with us, is that true? Is everything they say true? Is there a lot of problems, or what's going on in California?
Well, I think it's a multitude of things. And you can go and look at the stats, and they talk about the cost of living, the rising taxes, the political environment, unemployment, housing costs, workplace insecurity. But then there's also the workplace change, right? The movement from people being able to work from home and Zoom being way more ubiquitous, and people just having more tools which enable them to work from home, right? So there's all of those factors, but I think there's some not so apparent and articulated factors that come out in the media. And that is, I think, quality of life. I think people are looking and seeking community. I think there's a lot of different factors, how you raise your kids. In the Bay Area specifically, I think we have an overabundance of overachievers. And, I don't know if that's necessarily a great recipe for raising children or raising good citizens for the world. So I do think there's some people that, I'll have some heart-to-hearts with them about why are you leaving? And some of it really is quality of life and really getting back to basics a little bit more. So that's kind of my feeling, what I'm seeing. And I work a lot with ranchers and farmers too, because I do a lot of ag land and land. And a lot of them are really just missing the whole sense of community. And then we're also seeing a huge shift in the demographics of who's buying real estate in California. And especially agricultural and land and assets that maybe are more banking opportunities, land banking and those sorts of things.
So you're looking at 3 realtors on the screen right now. We have myself, licensed realtor in Las Vegas. Terry's a licensed realtor also. And a lot of times people don't realize that realtors we're counselors, we're
Oh.
advisors, we're coaches. We're not just trying to make a sale, we're trying to help people make a right decision. And that always comes first. And I'm glad that you brought that up. But I had a couple more things to say on that, Terry, but go ahead. I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, Danielle, I'm just curious. Well, first of all, let me just say this. So the thing I also that you didn't mention that I'm sure a lot of people also affects a lot of people is traffic. I just had a meeting this morning. So I'm in the Orlando area. I had a meeting on the Space Coast over near Kennedy Space Center that was 51 miles away. And I drove both ways in 1 hour, which I used to commute 25 miles to work, an hour and a half each way. I could walk faster than I could drive on the freeway. And it's just so nice to not have to deal with traffic anymore here in Florida. So, and of course, there is traffic in Florida in some places, but I got to tell you, they are building freeways like crazy here, and they're building them in the middle of nowhere to try and get people so that in the future and the path of growth, the people can grow with that. But Danielle, I wanted to ask you, do you just even make mental notes of where people are going when they're leaving California? Have you dealt with people who've left? And if so, where are some places that they end up?
Yeah, and it's not just mental notes. I use the US Census Bureau data and everything else to really understand where we need to have our key relationships. And so I do leverage all of those network of real estate agents that we have in the Leaving California team. And it's super important to understand where that migration is happening. And of course, the census data gives us that. But also, I think there's really interesting, if you follow Pods or U-Haul, they have much more up-to-date information, right? Because they know exactly where people are going. And the top 5 locations as of this morning when I looked was, of course, Texas, Arizona. But it's interesting. I would have thought it would have been a couple of other ones, but they did say Washington, Nevada, and Oregon. So you kind of see all of our neighboring states being filled out and populated, and then Texas being another one. But on migratory paths, you're also seeing a lot of influx into Florida and a lot of influx into the Carolinas as well. But I would have to say that I think depending on your political affiliations, that kind of drives where you end up going too, right? Are you going to Oregon or Texas? And your political affiliation can really drive that decision. So it's pretty darn interesting. I'm finding a lot of people are interested in Texas specifically, and that might just be the people I work with because I work with a lot of investors, and because it's one of the top states to invest in as well.
Yeah, I know that the number 1 state for Californians leaving is Texas. And I think Arizona, like you said, is number 2. I can also share with you that over 350,000 people moved to Florida last year from other states. That is 850 people per day, 7 days a week for 365 days moved to Florida last year. So you can imagine the growth that's going on in Florida. And it's not because we're a high tax, high cost of living state. It's because we're just the opposite. So it is expensive here because housing's gotten expensive because so many people are moving here. And I'm not trying to make this an advertisement for Florida, but it certainly is a place that a lot of people are ending up. You see New York plates, New Jersey and Pennsylvania plates all over the place because they're moving here because they find the living conditions much better than what they're leaving. Just like Californians find other states better places than living in California.
Yeah, and some of the other drivers really are, of course, we talk about those taxes and, pollution and commutability and all of those other things. But, I see more and more families, and that's what I'm saying. And it's families just wanting a better life, or younger people starting out that just can't afford in California, which is just such a shame. I don't even know how anyone, when a starter home where I am, a condo is, 900,000. I don't even know how, and then that's, you're add in your HOA, that's a 600 a month, and all of these other, how do they manage? And how do you come up with the down payment for that?
I don't think you do.
Yeah, I know, right? You have to be in high tech and you have to be able to get some stock and sell it, but then you've got the tax implications of that. So I think it's ultimately a challenge. It's a little bit scary for you know, us parents too, because I look at my children who are in college right now and I think, where the heck are they gonna go?
Yeah.
Well, of course, they're playing move back home with me.
Well, Danielle, let's stay on the same topic here a little bit, and let's get into the mindset, because every week we and by the way, this is week 4 of our weekly podcast, and we're doing this for the whole year, and it's so exciting to go around the country. Let's talk about the mindset. Let's talk about our listeners, and let's talk about people, and how does it work, like when somebody is really needing some advice. Maybe they're not sure of their decision, and they're in this, they're not sure where to turn or who should they talk to. What's it like talking to a licensed realtor, and what would happen if somebody contacted you and said, you know what, I'm thinking about leaving? What are the next steps that you do?
Well, so I'm not your typical agent because I'm very data oriented. And I really like people to be armed with information in order to make the best decisions, right? Because I think sometimes when we make emotional decisions, we regret them because we hadn't thought them through. So if someone contacts me, I really try and get into the nuts and bolts of why they're thinking of leaving and what some of their pain points are. And then I address that with data. And then also, so I start with the head and then I move to the heart, right? Start with the head and really helping them make that rational decision. And then you have to help them make the emotional transition. So it's a two-pronged approach. And I think one of the things is people just want to go to maybe a Facebook page and ask questions or whatever. If you're seriously considering a move, a realtor can be your biggest advocate and your best friend. And I know so many realtors that end up being the best friends of their clients when they end up moving there, right? Because they're the first point of contact for that community. So rely on your realtor leaving or wherever your target destination is, because they're actually going to be your best advocate and the person that's going to really watch out for you and answer those silly questions that you just don't know where to go find an optometrist when you're, your second day in and you smashed your glasses moving your boxes, right? They're the person you're going to call. So you want to have a good relationship with them. And you want to make sure that when you're leaving California and you're going somewhere else, you're in lockstep with both of those realtors, and those realtors should be talking on your behalf without you even there. Like, I should be calling your realtor in Tennessee saying, gosh, they're super concerned about their dog. Their dog's being shipped right now. Make sure that we can take pictures as soon as the dog gets there. Whatever it is, we're your team behind the scenes.
I think this is great advice too. And you just made me think of something that maybe sometimes people don't think of. When you're choosing your realtor, if you don't have one, I think it's really important. You can tell, like, do they really care about you as a person? Do they really want to help you? Or are they just talking about, we need to get your house sold. Let me come over. Let me do an analysis on your house. Are they just worried about selling it? Or do they truly want to help? And I think you're going to be able to know that right away. So my advice is, when you need to find the right realtor. And I don't know if you guys know this in the audience, but Terry has worked for the last 5 years on building 330 like-minded realtors like Danielle, like myself, that can really help you. We're not just trying to make a sale. Like, this is a very big decision. We take this very, very seriously. And we don't start with having how much are you going to sell your house for? We want to find out. I like what you said. I'm going to steal that too, Danielle. You start with the mind and then you go to the heart, because that's so important. And we want to help you make decisions. So Terry, what do you got to say on that?
Well, that's right, David. I agree completely with you and Danielle. The gentleman I just met with over on the Space Coast, he's a longtime broker in the real estate world. And he said, picking the wrong realtor can cost a homeowner tens of thousands of dollars. If you go with your brother-in-law because he got his license last week, you're probably going to lose tens of thousands of dollars in the transaction versus going with a professional who does this for a living, who it's in their blood to help people, not in their blood just to try and make money off of somebody. So it's very important. And again, that's my criteria for building this list of realtors all across the country, California and other parts of the country, is how experienced are you? What are your priorities when you're helping someone? And I can assure you, virtually 100% of the realtors I've connected with and are on the list are there to help people and help them achieve the home of their dream. Not just that they don't look at people as a transaction; they look at it as a success story, that they've helped someone live a better life.
Well, and I
we-
think the caveat too is that in this era of frenzy of COVID purchasing, there's a lot of new people that have entered the business, right? And there's a lot of safety nets in place and they may be good at doing that transaction, right? But when you're relocating, there's so much more complexity that you want someone with a lot of experience that knows little nuances that entry-level agent might not have known. Like I understand tax implications. I understand, all of those different things. And if you don't have a realtor says, whoa, here's something to think about. I've got a CPA that you've got to be taking, really looking at these details of moving out of California and what that's going to mean for your business. Because maybe they have a business and then there's that, clawback tax that they're going to be hit with, whatever it happens to be. And unfortunately, age, or it could be a good thing, age, we build that wisdom, right? So knowledge combined with age is wisdom. Knowledge without age is sometimes just knowledge without knowing those different nuances that can help you. And again, you're right, Terry, save tens of thousands of dollars with just going, aha, I remember this scenario ages ago, better talk to an attorney.
Well, let's take it one step farther, Danielle. So now we have this individual you've had this coaching session with, and now they've really made up their mind. They've said, you know what, I've had it for whatever reason. And we understand, like, we're not always here to pick on California. Me and Terry absolutely love California. We love visiting there. We just don't want to live there. But somebody has made the decision for whatever reason, homelessness, crime, whatever the reason is. Now they're in this mindset. They are going to go. They've made the decision. What are some things that you think that some of our members, out of the 300,000 members that are in this mindset, they've made the decision. Now, what are some mistakes or some things that they really should be aware of?
Well, I think, and I'm just going to say the most obvious mistake is just finding the cheapest mover you can. Right? Because we know that the mover that's going to quote you the lowest is going to end up hustling for you for a lot more on the other end. They won't even unpack your stuff without making you pay another $3,000 or whatever it happens to be. Or they don't tell you that, oh yeah, we're packaged your stuff up with 8 other families and it's going to go around the world until it gets to you and you might not get it for 3 months, right? So I think that's one of the biggest gotchas that people go with a trusted, reliable, you're going to pay the same no matter what, even on the front end. If they say it's going to be 50% less, it won't.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also just travel to these sites, do your due diligence, make sure that you understand, and I always say ordinarily rank your criteria. People always have competing priorities, right? I want to be on the coast and I want to have a cheap house and I want 80 acres. None of those go together. So,
yeah.
Oh, don't forget no humidity.
Yeah, exactly. So ordinarily ranked, say best schools, #1, right? And then if it's whatever else,
Mm-hmm.
and just keep that in mind because you get caught up in having these competing priorities that'll never get you where you want to go. Visit those places and then work with a trusted advisor, realtor that's on the list, that's been referred to you through the team, and you can contact these lovely gentlemen and they can help you find someone too.
Mm-hmm.
And then making sure that they're in lockstep with whoever your realtor is here in California. Those two should be talking all the time.
Terry, do you got one that you want to throw in too?
Well, I would agree with Danielle. If I will say we've had people who've bought homes sight unseen without visiting, but definitely if it's a possibility, a probability, please go visit these towns and don't just go once. If you can, if you've got, if you're a year away, then go in the summertime and go in the wintertime and see what it's like. I will tell you, I've said it 100 times, Florida in July and August is hotter than hot. It's not as hot as Texas. It's not as hot as Houston and Dallas, but it is still very hot and very humid. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. I will tell you, the mornings I get my dogs up, in fact, 6:30 this morning, I had a little black and white paw on my shoulder, waking me up. 5 minutes later, we're out the door, walking my 2 dogs. The sun's not up yet. It is beautiful. It's 74 degrees. It is absolutely beautiful. And then when we walk in the evenings, it's beautiful. So you take the good with the bad. The thing is, I file one tax return a year now because I don't have to pay California state income taxes. As I said, I don't have to worry about traffic anymore. You know, I wouldn't trade this for California for anything. I don't care how beautiful it is. I don't care. You know, to me, California is a rat race, and I was so happy to get out of that rat race and live a normal life again. And I think that's what a lot of people are desiring. Again, as David, as you've said many times, we're not trying to tell people they need to leave California. We let them decide that. But if you do, I will tell you there is a great life outside of California if you're not happy with the lifestyle you have now, and you should definitely consider looking elsewhere.
I get the biggest rub though, I think, is that, you know, probably the middle generation really wants to leave, but the rub is my parents are here. My college kids want somewhere to come back to, right? And I think that's one of the hugest challenge. But I think if you identify a place that your extended family might also consider, right? Maybe have a family discussion about where everyone would entertain moving. Because if you move somewhere that your parents or your kids would never go to, you might boomerang and come back.
Well, I can second that. Terry, you said that July, August, Las Vegas it's the same thing. We have the really great weather all throughout the year, but July, August is really, really rough. I want to go back to you, Danielle, on this, talking about where their migration patterns are. You had said that you talked to a lot of people about Texas. Are you finding that a lot of people is that the initial call? Like they say, I really need a realtor. We're thinking about leaving to Texas, or does that come down later? And talk about how they explain to you where they want to go.
Well, I think because I'm in the Bay Area and my office is in Los Gatos, I'm in the Silicon Valley, right? So I see a lot of the tech migration. So that's, you know, that's where the Texas factor comes in. And then I'm also a horse person. So I've got a lot of people that I know that are ranching and compete with horses. So they all want to go to Texas. So that's kind of my little ecosystem. But, you know, no, I hear a lot about Nashville, Missouri. People are looking off the beaten path where prices haven't really gone up as much, you know. Yeah, it's kind of it's interesting. It's all over the place. And I just know it's such a hard decision. And to share a little insight, I actually lived in Texas 3 times. And I'm licensed in Texas. I don't practice, but I know a lot about Texas because I got my graduate degree there. I live there. I'm, you know, just spent a lot of time. All my sorority sisters are there. So I know the state very well. So I tend to service that more because I know exactly what areas, if they give me their problem and what their goals are, I'm like, oh, you should think of. And I identify a city. I also own a ranch in Colorado, but the interesting thing is Colorado really isn't on people's radar. The mountain states have kind of fallen off in terms of migration.
Yeah. Now, Terry, I think let's talk about your geographical area and the areas that you service, Danielle. And Terry, you have some history in her area, is that right?
In Texas or in California?
California.
Well, yeah, I lived in the Bay Area for 35 years. So I moved there in 86. And in the East Bay, I helped open several Chili's restaurants in the Bay Area back in the 80s. Owned several Subways in the Bay Area back in the 80s and early 90s. And decided I wanted to live to 50 years old because the restaurant business was killing me. And so I got out of that, got into real estate and the real estate technology. And I love the Bay Area. You know, the house, I was very proud of the house I lived in, a nice big house there in the East Bay in Martinez. And, but again, you know, the reason I started this whole leaving California group is because I was like, I can't be the only person that every time the legislature meets or Newsom opens his mouth or Brown or whoever it was, I can't believe that people are accepting this. And let me also just say this real quick. I just noticed over the weekend that California, now what month is this? Oh, we're in mid-September of 2023. Last week, California came out and said, you know what, we're going to revisit this whole socialized medicine thing, and we're going to double everyone's taxes. I will tell you the number one month that we grew was in January of last year. We grew by 15,000 members in 30 days because California came out with this whole socialized medicine. So I can imagine we're going to head for that again, because nobody wants the people who run DMV to now run your medical care. And that's exactly what it would be, I can assure you. And they can double all taxes and it's still not going to be enough money. They're still going to be short. The other side of it is this whole teaching young children that they may be the wrong gender, that they may be of this sexual orientation. In my mind, we don't need to be teaching elementary school children about all this stuff. They can figure that stuff out later in life. But, anyway, I think parents are going to be very upset about what's going on. And if they socialize medicine in California, we could see another mass exodus. So I'm very happy that we've got this whole network set up, people like Danielle who understand where people are coming from and where they're going. And that's what the whole purpose of the group is.
I have to be careful. I get Terry started on, he gets back in his mindset of what it was like back in California. And again, for some people, it's just not for them. And I understand why you left. But let's go back to what I said earlier, Danielle, and that is your territories and where you cover, and people are looking for a realtor, and what areas do you cover, and talk a little bit about the market and what's going on in California real estate.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So let me talk a little bit about my market. So I have a team, a dedicated team of 6, and then a network across the state, but there's also a multitude of agents that Terry has as well listed on the Leaving California page. But I would be more than happy to offer up my services to have a conversation with someone and help them find the best person on that list. If they're not in my geographic area, or if it just isn't a great fit, because we're not everyone's cup of tea. And we need to realize that not one size fits all. The other thing, if I'm okay to plug this, is I do offer a moving expenses and concierge service to all of our clients, so they can get up to 20 to 25,000 just in a moving concierge. So because I do realize that it's expensive, it's scary, and the last thing you have time for is organizing all the details when your kids are screaming at you because they have to change high schools. So that's one thing. The market's weird. It's really interesting.
Wait, hold on. Wait, Danielle, because you just kind of squeezed that in. I mean, you just said $20,000 like it's nothing. $25,000. That's a lot of money to anybody. So, so you're saying that you're offering a concierge service, so you're kind of giving back to your clients and you're helping them with some of their costs. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and it's all based on the cost of the sale of the home. So we give a percentage of the cost of the sale of the home back to them, but we can either give it back to them in a closing cost credit, or they say, my pain point is getting my horses moved. Then I say, I've got it covered with this concierge service. We'll make it happen. I need to have some junk removal and some pods show up. Okay, I got it. So I will manage whatever their biggest pain point is with that bucket of money that I've allocated to helping people have the most seamless move possible. And I've also, worked with other realtors in their target locations that will chip in and maybe even offer a free preview flight out, because I think it's so important to get out there and preview where you're going to be living and actually find the home or whatever. So there are realtors that are willing to chip in to make this a seamless process, and seek those ones out. We're not all about just bottom line. We're about making your process easier, because then ultimately you're going to refer us to your other friends or people that are considering it.
I really like that concept, and the fact that it's not just about money, and there are other things that we can help with that's not even money related. But I really think that money is the top of the mind item when people are making this change. So that's really very generous of you, and that's awesome. We're going to talk about your contact information and how people can get a hold of you. And Terry, did you want to say anything about that?
No, if Danielle can go ahead and talk about her market also.
Yes, sir. All right. Go ahead.
Definitely. So California on the whole has come down. And I would have thought that the more price sensitive areas like Central Valley and other areas that are really sensitive to interest rate hikes would have plummeted in value, but they've ticked up in value and in sales. But then the other major cities have kind of gone stagnant. But it's interesting, in my office, things are going for 300,000 over. So I'm at a sales meeting and I'm hearing this and I'm thinking, what? And it's because there's no inventory. And the people still have the cash with their stock buyouts. So in mine's a little weird, because people get to play with their funny money, which is stock, where everybody else has had to save and find that down payment money and everything else. So they're very, very cautious about what they're going to purchase and how they're going to purchase it. I do have some properties up and down the state. One in Bakersfield it takes a long time to sell there. People are super, super cautious because it's their hard-earned money and they're going to be picky. So it's just a really interesting, we have so many micro markets in California and just trying to understand each of those. And that's why it's super important to have an agent that really understands the markets or the dynamics of the type of property that you have. People always think market is the most important. Maybe, maybe not. If you have an investment or a duplex, or you have a farm or a ranch, you're going to want someone that specializes in that versus someone that knows, every house on your street. It's just a different dynamic.
So when you're talking about your market, and again, maybe you could clarify your specific market that you specialize in. I'd also like for you to talk about days on market. And is that the norm where most of the properties that you see listed are always going above ask price?
And there's this sweet spot, right? It's about 1 million to 2 million, which is kind of entry level, I guess, for some people or their second home. And those ones are the ones that are going for over because there isn't any. The ones that are more luxury are sitting a bit longer because people are being pickier. And then we're just seeing in other, lower income markets, people are being a bit pickier as well, or they're waiting for it to drop or whatever. And I tell people at the end of the day, interest rate right now is nothing in comparison to the return on equity. So if you're squabbling about a tick or a two in an interest rate, you're looking at the wrong picture. Because if everywhere is increasing by 6% per annum at a minimum, you go to states like Florida or Texas or somewhere else, and they're increasing by 12% per annum. What's a 7% interest rate?
Yeah.
So don't look at that. Look at what your return on investment is going to be and your cost of not acting now.
Yeah, that's great advice. Terry, you got something to add on real estate?
No, I think that's great advice. I'm just so happy to have people like Danielle in our group that are experts in their field and want to really have a great heart to help people. And so Danielle, I appreciate you being in our groups, helping us out.
That's great.
So Danielle, in Las Vegas, our median house price is 450,000. So I always tell my clients that, they're saying, oh, we really just want to wait till the interest rates go down. In my market, it's different because if you wait for the interest rates to go down, then all the house prices go up. You cannot get a house. So right now in Las Vegas, it's a really good time to buy. And the upside of the appreciation you're going to get is it way washes that half a point or a full point in interest rates. But is it kind of the same? I'm not really, I don't deal in that higher end market like you do, but I would think those conversations might be a little bit different. Can you elaborate on that?
It's similar, very similar. And I'm going to just tell a little story real quick. So my first home was at 17%. So let me ask you a hypothetical question. What is hotter, 80 degrees in fall or 80 degrees in spring?
Go ahead, Terry. You get this one.
Well, it's the same.
No, when you're coming out of winter, spring feels hotter. When you're coming out of summer, that 80 degrees feels cooler, doesn't it?
Well, you got 80 degrees. I will agree 90 degrees in Florida in spring is hotter than 90 degrees in fall. I will give you that. 80 degrees to me is the perfect temperature. So
well,
I'll take either one.
My point being that if you're coming from 3% interest rate to 7%, you're going, holy moly, that is high. If you're coming from 10% to 7%, you're saying that's a pretty good rate. Back in the day, we were up to 18%. People were still buying. So, and we weren't appreciating at the rates we were appreciating it now, right? We were appreciating it maybe 1% per year. Now the houses are appreciating it anywhere from 8, 12, some places, Nashville, 21. Come on, do the math. Keep buying.
I agree. And the thing is, in Las Vegas, in this market, I mean, we're getting a lot of seller incentives. We're getting a lot of 2-to-1 buy down. Sellers are actually playing ball. It's not just a seller's market. So I think right now it's a great time to buy in this market. Now, so Terry, did you have anything else on your list that you wanted to talk about? California real estate agents or anything?
No, David, I think I just published the list this weekend of our realtor network. We added West Virginia this month. We added more folks in Kentucky, Florida. We're constantly adding more realtors around the country. And we've got some big surprises coming. I think we're working on some really big things for the group and looking forward to announcing those. Also, we just published also our latest list of approved or verified movers. These are direct movers. Most of them are, or I think all of them are family-owned businesses. All of them are direct movers. We don't allow brokers. It just breaks my heart when I see these stories, just as Danielle alluded to. Oh, I had a mover wanted to charge me $15,000, but I found a broker that would do it for $6,000. And then they got our stuff, and at the other end, they said they need another $15,000 or they're not going to deliver our stuff. It happens every stinking day in this country. And I don't know why those people can't be caught, but apparently they set up shop as brokers. 6 months, they shut down. They open up as a new broker, start the whole process all over again. And all they've done is taken people's money and given really, really lousy service. So that's it for me.
And Danielle, I want to open it back up to you. We have a few more minutes. I like to try to keep it around 45 minutes to an hour. Time's gone by really fast. Did you have anything else on your list that you would like to share with the Leaving California members, or anything at all about California real estate that might be helpful? You've shared so much already.
Oh gosh, I think the biggest caveat I would have for people if they're selling in California is to really understand your tax implications. Understand how quickly you need to reinvest that money, what it looks like. Also, if it's something you've inherited, make sure you have the step-up basis. There's so many things that people don't realize. And if you have a question about what that is, contact me. I'll be more than happy to share. But we want to preserve, I'm all about building wealth and intergenerational wealth and maintaining your wealth. And so if there's a way that we can preserve your assets through reduced tax implications, I'm going to do it. So that's one of my goals for everybody. So I think when you're selling, really think about that. Also, the other thing is when you're looking at your target location, think about the tax implications as well and what you're going to pay and the total cost envelope. Some people look at the price of the home, but they don't look at the total cost envelope of what it costs to live there. One of the great things, and I'm not just plugging for Texas, I just know it, but one of the great things about Texas is they have legislation on the books right now to limit their increases in property taxes, because that's been a big, hairy thorn in everyone's side, because their property taxes go up, annually. Now they're going to have a limit and it's going to be capped. And then also, if you're not utilizing the city services or municipalities, then you're going to be able to reduce your taxes as well. So there are some states that are addressing some of those things, but look at that and ask your realtor to give you that data. Mm-hmm. What is the total cost envelope? What does it look like? And if they don't know it, move on to the next one.
Right. Well, Danielle, thank you. You've given so much great information today. What I would like for you to do is please give everybody a way. I'd like for you to share your phone number and your email, the best way to get a hold of you if they've got questions and they're really thinking about making this move.
Yeah, definitely. So I can always be reached at 408-888-7794. And my email is D3, the letter D, the number 3, group@kw.com. And I'm going to throw this. I don't know if it'll work. No, it won't work with my camera. Is that coming up? No, it's not. Darn it. I was trying to give you my QR code. Anyway, I can post it in the link, and I'm always out there commenting on stuff, and find me on Facebook. Danielle.
I think, Danielle, if you hold it in front of your face, because that's what the camera's focusing on. There you
Thank
go.
you.
Sure.
that
Try and get a
work?
little closer. You got a little bit of, there you go, right there.
Yeah,
Let's see
just
if that
scan that
works.
bad boy.
Hang on, let me see if I can, hang on, let me see if I can do it. Let me see if
We're
it works.
testing our technology skills.
Hey, I think it works. It does.
Okay.
There you go.
Wow.
Danielle
Look at that.
Davenport right
There,
there.
there she is.
All
Thank
right.
you, gentlemen. This is great.
Well, thank you
Yeah,
so much for
thanks,
joining us.
Danielle.
And we will be posting this probably later on today. And if anybody needs to get a hold of a great realtor, she does not just in her area, but she's got other areas in California as well. Definitely need to talk to Danielle Davenport. I hope everybody's doing great. And if you need any help with your decision to leave California, we're always here for you.
Oh, one more thing. If anybody is thinking of investing out of state, talk to me because ideally you might want to use a different realtor, but one of the ones on the list that does understand investments. But I'm finding that any investment out of California is bringing you a better cap rate and a better return on investment. Don't buy a rental in California. That's all I got to say.
Amen.
All righty.